parks on the air, summits on the air. You go out in the wild and you've got your low power rig and you throw an antenna up. It's adventure. Tom, the other day I was talking to some friends and the subject of hobbies came up and they said, well, what do you do? I said, well, of course, they knew we were bird watchers, but then I said, also ham radio. And the guy said, ham radio? Is that still around?
Isn't that for old people?
Isn't that for old people? I thought that died a long time ago. My uncle or grandfather was one of those. Yeah. And I got to thinking about the fact that it's not just people outside the hobby who think the hobby is dead or dying. There's a lot of people who are hams who think the hobby is dead or dying. So we are here to tell you that ham radio is not dying, and we're going to give you 10 reasons to think about very seriously as to why ham radio has a very bright future.
Yeah, and we're optimistic about the future of ham radio. In the spirit of all those that have contributed to the hobby for the last 100 or so years.
Yeah, right. In their spirit, we're working in that spirit too. The hobby's going to keep going. So here's the first thing to consider. We human beings are made to love tools and techniques and electrical stuff and electronic stuff now in the world. All these technologies are part of this grand unfolding, this innovation in the world. And doggone it, it's fun to be part of that as a human being. And that's one of the reasons, Tom, I think ham radio's got a bright future.
All right. And areas of human innovation are amazing. And there'll always be, new radio modes and media technologies emerging to experiment with and enjoy. There's digital high frequency HF, DMR, satellite. We're even looking at quantum radio, and it's a fun hobby with the experimenting, the antennas, software, modular integrations, and all the different modes of operation out there.
Number 3, hams will always be solving human communication problems. We are practical people. We take the technology not just as engineers to develop it, but also as kind of technicians and interested parties to make it work. So we get into things like emergency communication and into helping the government in various ways. We're out there at races helping for auto races and for the races of Boston. You can't go to Boston marathon,
yeah,
and not see the hams. I mean, hams are always figuring out how to solve practical problems. That's number 3.
Right. Number 4 is the DIY lovers, the do-it-yourselfers. We had the video with Gabe on his junkyard ham station. Do-it-yourself right now is big. There's the makers groups out there that are just playing with robotics, integrating ham radio, other forms of RF.
Isn't it amazing, Tom? I know you're big into the maker community, and we've got a couple of videos coming up with some people who are big on the maker side. Some of those are rural folks who just learn how to do everything out in rural contexts. But the maker community is big, it's growing, and ham radio is getting increasingly connected to it. So
right,
I agree with you on that, Tom. Number 5, get this, Tom. Ham radio helps solve the problem of boredom.
All right.
You heard me, boredom. And boredom is one of the biggest human problems. It's amazing what kind of trouble people can get into because they're bored. And so we have boredom. We have people with short attention spans. We have people who are introverts in the hobby, and they are bored. They don't necessarily want to talk a lot on the radio, but they want to get involved in the technology and all. They're from different technical fields. Boredom is a problem, and ham radio gets us out of it. I remember even as a kid, Tom, in Chicago, where we grew up, I would sometimes solve my problem of boredom in the evenings. I certainly wasn't going to do homework.
No.
And so I would solve my problem, and I didn't like TV. That was boring. Listening to the radio was fun when I got a radio that was good enough that I could do AM band or medium wave DXing. I could listen in the evening to AM radio distance stations. I loved it. And I would stay up at night. It relieved my boredom. That's number 5.
And number 6 is with the ham movement, the club movement is showing signs of rebirth. Ham clubs are starting to get more involved. They're becoming more mentoring. Um, we have a video on White Cars, the York Community Amateur Radio Society near Charlotte, North Carolina. And they're doing a fabulous, fantastic job inviting new hams, integrating them into the group. And there's lots of momentum going on within the ham club community.
Yeah, it's interesting, Tom, that QST magazine, which is put out by the American League, ARRL, you can look them up, arrl.org. They put out QST magazine for many, many years. And they started a column just a few years ago. And the first column was about the York County Amateur Radio Society near Charlotte that you're talking about, that is growing like crazy. Listen, there are dead clubs out there, but clubs can be revived. And the club movement is reviving in many areas. So that's another factor that we are optimistic about the future. Number 7, all of the internet-based websites, Facebook groups, chat groups, other social media dedicated to ham radio, and especially YouTube. I mean, we're doing this on YouTube, Ham Radio Perspectives. Please subscribe down below. But the fact of the matter is that there's all this ham stuff online, which is contributing to bringing people into the hobby to find out about it, how they can do it, where they can find people to take the exam, where they can find a ham club and so forth. There was none of this when you and I were growing up in the hobby. And you might go to a local club, and there were a couple of magazines, but that was it. So we honestly think that the growth of all of these additional online media out there dedicated to ham radio are going to help the hobby grow into this bright future. That is number 7.
Number 8. And it seems that ham radio is starting to reflect the human spirit of helping one another through mentorship. Elmers, they're helping you put together antennas, fixing rigs, learning new things together. And that's a part of the spirit of ham radio, is everybody helps each other, makes them learn new things. We learn new things from just hanging around with other hams, Quinn, and it doesn't necessarily mean just technical things either. We just learned, how to be comrades.
Yeah. For a while, I was going to a monthly luncheon with other hams in the area, and a group of 7 to 10, 12 people. And what was interesting there is if in that group you went to lunch and you brought up that you had a need, like help to get an antenna up or something, there were people who were on that right away. They wanted things to do. They wanted to help other people. And that's an important part of the hobby, this spirit of doing things together, accomplishing. Number 9 is the spirit of adventure. And Tom, I got to say, this works out in many ways in the hobby. New equipment is an adventure. Getting on a new band is an adventure. Getting involved in things like POTA and soda. Some people don't know what those are. Parks on the air, summits on the air. You go out in the wild and you've got your low power rig and you throw an antenna up. It's adventure. So much of ham radio is a kind of adventure, and human beings like adventure. Now, there are many other competing hobbies you could get into that are adventurous too, but we think in ham radio, there is this adventure that's out there. And when you get snookered, Tom, by that sense of adventure, you might want to get into the ham radio hobby and give it a try. It's part of my old gig. I talk about that human beings like adventure. They like trying to conquer space and time. And ham radio gives us an opportunity to do that. So that's number 9. What's 10?
Number 10, and let's not forget the ARRL, the Association for Amateur Radio, or the National Association of Amateur Radio, I believe they call themselves.
Yeah.
And they're out there, they're lobbying the government, the FCC, for ham improvement, government ease of regulations, and they've got a lot of information and educational products. across all the media, either written, video, some podcasts.
They do. Yeah, in different magazines. You know, there are people, Tom, especially older hams, who remember some things that the ARRL was involved in. Some hams didn't like those changes. So there's kind of an anti-ARRL group out there. But here's the thing. The ARRL is going to help us because for all the things they do, lobbying to protect our frequencies, to hang on to the frequencies, the spectrum we have, is incredibly important because there are more and more demands from different kind of industries worldwide to get the frequencies that hams use, and to really to help us get some new frequencies as well. So we think the ARRL's efforts on behalf of ham radio are very important, and as number 10, really contribute to the hobby. So these are 10 reasons why we think ham radio has a great future. Right. So thanks for watching. We think the future is great for ham radio. We are not among those nattering nabobs
of
negativism that are out there that are always critical, the sad hams, the critical hams, the ones that say that hobby's going down the tubes, all the morons from CB are in there. We don't think that way at all. We think we have a bright future. And if you're thinking about getting into ham radio, think about these 10 things because we want to invite you aboard. So put some notes down below. Tell us what you think of the video. Please subscribe to the channel. This is Ham Radio Perspectives. I'm Quinn, K8QS.
And I'm Tom, WA9TDD.
And we wish you 7-3, which means best regards. Thanks, everybody.